Picture this. You're lying awake at 2 a.m., replaying a conversation in your head. Someone hurt you again. The same person. The same pattern. And you're wondering, should I forgive them one more time? Your heart says yes because you're a good person. But something deeper, something wiser inside you whispers, how many times will you let this happen? Here's what I promise you today. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which people the ancient Stoics would never let back into their lives. Not because they were cold or heartless, but because they understood something most of us learned too late. Forgiveness doesn't always heal. Sometimes it just reopens the wound. If you've ever felt guilty for cutting someone off, if you've ever wondered whether you gave up too easily, or if you're debating right now whether to give someone another chance, this video will change everything. Drop a comment saying, "I choose peace," if you're ready to learn what the wisest philosophers in history knew about protecting yourself. Let's start with a truth that might sting a little. Forgiveness has been twisted in our modern world. We're told to forgive everyone, always, no matter what. We're told that holding boundaries makes us bitter, that walking away makes us weak, that real strength means endless second chances. But here's what they don't tell you. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, these were men who lived through betrayal, exile, and loss. They understood human nature better than most people today ever will. And you know what they taught? Forgiveness is powerful, yes. But wisdom is knowing who deserves it and who's just going to hurt you again. Seneca once said something that most people forget. He said, "It is equally a virtue to know whom to forgive and whom to avoid." Read that again. Whom to avoid. Even the Stoics, with all their teachings about inner peace and emotional control, knew that some people are poison. And no amount of forgiveness will change that. So let me tell you a story. I had a friend once. Let's call him Alex. Alex was charming, funny, the life of every party. We'd been friends for years. But there was a pattern I kept ignoring. Every few months, Alex would share something I told him in confidence. He'd turn my private struggles into entertainment for others. He'd laugh it off, say he didn't mean anything by it, apologize with tears in his eyes. And I forgave him. Again and again. Because that's what good friends do, right? Until one day, I shared something deeply personal. Something I was ashamed of. Something I trusted him with. And within a week, I heard it repeated back to me by someone I barely knew. That's when it hit me. Alex wasn't going to change. His apologies weren't real. They were just reset buttons so he could hurt me again. That's the first type of person the Stoics would never forgive, the chronic betrayer. The person who treats your trust like it's disposable. Like loyalty is optional. Stay with me because this gets deeper. Comment, "I see the pattern," if this is hitting home. Here's what makes betrayal so dangerous. It's not usually dramatic. It's not someone stabbing you in the back in some movie scene. It's subtle. It's the friend who shares your secrets. The partner who badmouths you to others. The family member who uses your vulnerabilities against you when they're angry. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He wasn't being pessimistic. He was being realistic. He knew that some people would hurt him, and he prepared himself mentally. But here's the key. Preparation doesn't mean letting them keep hurting you. It means seeing it coming and protecting yourself. The Stoics forgave people for being imperfect. They understood human flaws. But they never gave unlimited access to people who repeatedly chose betrayal. Think about it like this. If someone breaks into your house, you might forgive them. You might understand they were desperate or struggling. But would you give them a key to your front door? Would you invite them to house sit? Of course not. That's not wisdom. That's foolishness. The same applies to emotional betrayal. Forgive them if it helps you heal. But don't hand them the key to your inner world again. Now let's talk about the second type of person who's dangerous to welcome back. The one who refuses to take responsibility for anything. Ever. You know this person. Everything is always someone else's fault. They mess up, but somehow you're the problem. They hurt you, but you're too sensitive. They break promises, but you had unrealistic expectations. No matter what happens, they twist it until they're the victim and you're the villain. I'll be honest with you. This type of person almost broke me once. I was in a relationship where every single argument ended the same way. I'd bring up something that hurt me, something reasonable, and within minutes, I was the one apologizing. I was the one who felt guilty. I was the one trying to fix things. It took me years to realize what was happening. I wasn't dealing with someone who made mistakes. I was dealing with someone who refused to acknowledge reality. And that's a completely different problem. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But he also knew that some people will never react with honesty. They'll never own their behavior. And if you keep forgiving them, you end up carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. This is emotional captivity. You become responsible for their feelings, their actions, their consequences. And the more you forgive without accountability, the heavier your chains become. Let me ask you something. How many times have you apologized for someone else's behavior? How many times have you made excuses for them to others? How many times have you convinced yourself that maybe you really were the problem? If you're nodding right now, keep watching. This gets better. The Stoics believed in personal responsibility above almost everything else. Marcus Aurelius constantly examined his own behavior. Seneca wrote entire letters about his own flaws. They weren't perfect, but they owned their imperfections. And that's the standard. Not perfection. Ownership. When someone refuses to own their actions, they're not going to change. They're going to keep hurting you in new ways and blaming you for the pain. Forgiveness without accountability is just enabling. And enabling isn't love. It's self-destruction. Comment, I won't carry what's not mine, if this is speaking to you. Now here's the third type, and this one sneaks up on you. It's the person whose life is constant chaos. And somehow, their chaos always becomes your emergency. Let me paint a picture. You have a friend who's always in crisis. They're always broke, always in dramatic relationships, always getting fired, always needing help. And because you're a good person, you help. You lend money. You give advice. You drop everything to be there. But have you noticed something? The crisis never actually ends. It just changes form. They fix one problem and create 3 more. They promise they're getting it together, but 6 months later, it's the same story with different details. The Stoics had a word for this kind of person. They called them enslaved to passion. Not in a romantic way. They meant enslaved to impulses, to poor decisions, to chaos. And Epictetus warned that the worst slavery is the one you walk into willingly. When you keep rescuing someone from consequences they created, you're not helping them. You're preventing them from learning. And worse, you're enslaving yourself to their dysfunction. I learned this the hard way with a family member. Every few months, there was a new disaster. And every time, I jumped in to fix it. I gave money I couldn't afford. I gave time I didn't have. I gave emotional energy until I had nothing left. And you know what changed? Nothing. Because I was so busy saving them from consequences that they never had to change. My forgiveness became their safety net. And they kept jumping knowing I'd catch them. Here's what the Stoics would say. Compassion without boundaries destroys both people. You can care about someone and still refuse to be dragged into their chaos. You can forgive their past and still protect your future. Real love sometimes looks like stepping back, like saying, I can't save you from yourself, like letting them face the natural consequences of their choices. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. The fourth type of person is the emotional vampire, the one who only takes and never gives, the one who manipulates your kindness because they know you're compassionate. These people are everywhere. They call when they need something. They disappear when you need them. They take your time, your energy, your resources. And when you finally set a boundary, they make you feel guilty for not giving more. Seneca wrote, everywhere means nowhere. He meant that when you try to help everyone, you end up helping no one, including yourself. The Stoics believed in generosity, yes, but strategic generosity, helping people who would use that help to grow, not people who would just consume it and ask for more. Think about your relationships right now. Who actually reciprocates? Who shows up for you the way you show up for them? If you're struggling to name people, that's your answer. I remember realizing this with someone I considered a close friend. I showed up for every crisis, every celebration, every random Tuesday they needed to vent. But when I went through the hardest period of my life, where was that friend? Nowhere. Too busy. Too stressed. Too everything. But when their next crisis hit, guess whose phone rang? That's when I understood. This wasn't friendship. This was a one-way transaction. And I was the one paying the price. The Stoics teach us that energy is finite. Your time is limited. Your emotional capacity has boundaries. Giving those resources to people who don't value them isn't generosity. It's self-abandonment. Forgiveness here doesn't mean letting them back in. It means releasing the resentment and closing the door. You can wish them well from a distance. You can hope they grow, but you don't have to sacrifice yourself on the altar of their endless needs. Comment, my energy is sacred, if you're understanding this now. And now we get to the fifth type. This one hurts the most because it's often subtle. It's the person who is quietly, almost invisibly, nourished by your struggles. They don't celebrate your wins. They don't support your growth. They downplay your feelings and subtly enjoy your setbacks. Have you ever shared good news with someone and felt the energy shift? Their smile doesn't reach their eyes. Their congratulations feels hollow. They immediately change the subject or bring up something negative. That's not an accident. That's envy disguised as friendship. Or maybe you're going through something hard, and instead of support, you get subtle jabs. Well, I told you that wouldn't work. Maybe you're just not cut out for that. At least you tried. Words that sound supportive but feel like tiny cuts. Marcus Aurelius wrote something powerful. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He understood that the people around you directly impact who you become. Surround yourself with people who darken your spirit, and eventually, you'll lose your light. I had someone in my life who I thought was my biggest cheerleader. But looking back, every time something good happened to me, they found a way to diminish it. Every time I struggled, there was this weird energy, not quite satisfaction, but close. Like they were more comfortable when I was down. The hardest part? They probably didn't even realize they were doing it. Envy is often unconscious, but that doesn't make it less toxic. The Stoics would say this person isn't your enemy. They're just not your friend. And forgiveness doesn't require keeping them close. You can release the hurt without inviting them back to hurt you again. So what do you actually do with all of this? How do you forgive without being a doormat? How do you protect yourself without becoming bitter? Here's the Stoic way. You don't hate them. Hatred keeps you chained to the pain. You don't seek revenge. Revenge keeps you trapped in the story. You simply detach. Quietly, calmly, completely. You forgive them for being who they are. You accept that they're not going to change. And then you make a choice to protect your peace like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. Forgiveness in Stoicism isn't about them. It's about you. It's about releasing the emotional weight so you can move forward freely. But releasing the weight doesn't mean opening the door again. Think of it like this. You can forgive someone for crashing into your car. You can understand they didn't mean to. You can let go of anger. But that doesn't mean you have to let them borrow your car next week. Forgiveness and access are two completely different things. Your peace took years to build. It cost you pain, lessons, growth, and tears. Why would you hand it back to someone who's repeatedly shown they don't value it? The Stoics teach us that wisdom is learned through experience. And one of the hardest lessons is this. Not everyone deserves unlimited chances. Not everyone has earned a place in your inner circle. And that's okay. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. Marcus Aurelius had people betray him. Seneca was exiled by people he trusted. Epictetus was enslaved and mistreated. These men knew pain. They knew betrayal. And yet they chose peace. Not by forgiving endlessly, but by forgiving wisely. So here's my challenge to you. Look at your life right now. Who are you giving unlimited access to? Who keeps getting chances they haven't earned? Who drains you more than they fill you? You don't have to hate them. You don't have to announce your boundaries dramatically. You can simply, quietly, peacefully create distance. You can forgive them and still choose yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can't control who others choose to be. But you can absolutely control who you allow near your soul. If this video resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs this message. Someone who's been struggling with forgiveness. Someone who feels guilty for having boundaries. Send it to them. They might need this today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're building a community of people who value wisdom, who protect their peace, and who refuse to settle for less than they deserve. Comment one final time. I choose peace over patterns. Say it out loud. Mean it. Protect it. The Stoics weren't perfect, but they were wise. And wisdom sometimes looks like closing a door. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And remember, your peace is not negotiable. Guard it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. See you in the next one. Stay strong. Stay wise. Stay stoic.